By the way, the other day I made the mistake of pushing the wrong button on my printer, and I printed out the entire document that we're dealing with today.
All 400 pages?
Oh yeah. And I'm going to keep it for posterity to show somebody how many pages we have to deal with.
Yes. And then you can use it for kindling when you go camping or something. So
Yeah. Are we ready to go? Is all the commissioners with us?
Well, it is 10 o'clock, so we have a couple people still joining if you want to wait about 30 more seconds. Yeah, we still have people coming in, so if you want to maybe wait a minute and then you can get started.
I'll wait a minute.
Okay. We do have quite a few people.
We'll go ahead and get started. It is 10:01 a.m., March 27th, 2026, and this meeting of the Arizona Oil and Gas Conservation Commission comes to order. We will take roll call. Commissioner Dale Nations will not be with us today. Commissioner Ballard, are you here?
Present.
Commissioner Conway, are you here?
I am.
Commissioner Firerobbin, are you here?
Yes.
And myself, Frank Thorwald, I am here as well. Is there any conflicts of interest? Hearing none, we will move on. Today, we're going to change the agenda slightly, and we will put 1A with 3 on the agenda. So we're going to start with 1B. Administrator Roberts, would you please make the presentation? You are muted.
Thank you. Sorry about that. Thank you, Chairman. We do have Mr. Michael Lacey with FMI to give a brief overview of the geothermal project that they have put in applications for and are requesting commission approval.
Please proceed, Mr. Lacey.
Thank you, Commissioner Thorwald, and thank you, Administrator Roberts. Freeport's very excited to bring this project to the commission, and we'll do a brief overview and then be prepared to answer any questions that members of the commission or other participants may have. Can you go to the next slide, please? So just a quick overview of why we're doing a geothermal project in Morenci. We are attempting to increase our leaching production and efficiency by raising the temperature of the leach stockpiles. And in this case, we want to do that through a geothermal heat exchange. It's part of our innovative leaching initiatives, and we've really found that increasing copper production from warmer leach stockpiles is maybe the most and best way for us to increase yields and efficiencies in a way that's environmentally sound, and we'll figure out whether it's cost effective as we get down the road. But we've got many team members on this project. Freeport, a big part of the Freeport crowd from the engineering projects folks, our energy group, exploration geology, hydrogeology, land and water, environmental. So it's a local project at Morenci, but also the Freeport corporate folks are involved at a very high level. We're partnering with the Department of Energy on a project called Miles High, which is an $80 million project. This geothermal piece is part of Miles High. The Miles part is more kind of microgrid and battery storage type stuff, so more on the energy side of things. We're partnering with Zanskar, who's a geothermal specialist and developers, and they're doing a lot of exciting things in sort of interpretation of potential geothermal systems and identifying targets and we'll hear from them a little bit later. Baker Hughes is also part of the team. They're providing technical support on the project and third-party review on the work that Zanskar is doing. Black & Veatch is doing the topside engineering. So we're going to have two loops. One is a loop of geothermal fluids that will intersect with a loop of raffinate, which are the low pH fluids that we apply to the stockpiles in order to leach copper out of them. There'll be a heat exchanger between the two of those. Those fluids will never contact each other. It's just the transfer of heat between those. And Baker Hughes is helping us with that. Brown and Caldwell's assisting on groundwater modeling for the project to sort of look at what the potential impacts of circulating these fluids may have on overlying aquifers. And then we've selected H&P as our driller. They're a very large oil and gas driller with operations all over the planet. Next slide, please. Yeah, just a quick overview of Morenci. So the pits are all in the northern part of the mine. This whole thing is like 60 square miles. It's a massive facility. And then you see here like MFL, which is mine for leach. So surrounding the mine are a bunch of stockpiles that we then irrigate with raffinate in order to produce copper. To the south so we also produce copper, via milling and concentrate, which gets sent to the smelter in Miami for processing. The proposed area, so town of Clifton is right here. San Francisco River is running to the east of Morenci, and our proposed project, the proposed geothermal target, is north of the town of Clifton, adjacent to the San Francisco River. And there's hot springs and other things up here. And the commission had approved a couple of APS wells years ago. And those were drilled close to this area as well. So next slide, please. I'll turn this slide over to Evan Ernest, who's a Zanskar geologist. So Evan, take this real quick.
Yeah, hi everyone. Thanks for hosting this. Yeah, so just a really quick summary of the geothermal reservoir. So we've been exploring in this area, and we have completed 6 core wells. I'm showing 4 of those core wells on this cartoon diagram. Even though this is a cartoon, it is actually very accurate in terms of the geologic setting. And essentially what we have is a fault-hosted geothermal system. So in this case, the faults are hosting the geothermal fluids, allowing them to reach a shallower depth that can be reached with the full-size wells. So what we're targeting is the upflow of these geothermal fluids, around 140 plus degrees Celsius. It's all hosted in crystalline bedrock, mostly granitic rocks. So then the porosity and permeability is all in the fracture system associated with these faults. And the faults are of basin and range age. This is pretty classic basin and range setting, similar to the geothermal systems that you see all over Nevada. And I think that's it for the geology. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Evan. Next slide, please. So this is phase 2B of this project. And really what we want to try to do here is define the drilling unit, get permits for pads within that unit, permit 4 wells on those pads, and we're requesting a term of 1 year, just given the scope of this project. The the rig we have to mobilize, it's going to be like 35 trucks to get it here, and it's going to take quite a while to get this done. While we're going to permit 4 wells, we don't necessarily know what we're going to be. We sort of have an idea on where the first well is going to be. The second well will be driven by the success of the first well. So really, we're planning on drilling 2 wells total, but we don't yet know which of the 4 sites we'll be on. And our objectives really are to confirm the existence of the geothermal resource at depth and provide a design basis for subsequent project phases. Our overall objective is to develop 5,000 gallons a minute of geothermal fluids at 140 degrees C, which will raise, with the heat exchanger, we will be able to raise 15,000 gallons a minute of raffinate up to 60 degrees C for circulation through the stockpiles. And the upper limit on 60 degrees C is really the threshold that we use HDP pipe to circulate the raffinate. And that's about the upper limit of the temperature that those pipes can handle. So that's why we're topped off there. We'll have heat exchangers to take the brine from the geothermal brine to the raffinate circuit, ton of plumbing and piping and monitoring systems, and then we'll return that brine to the source to replenish the geothermal resource. So again, the stuff in brown up top here, that's really the scope of these applications that are before you today. Next slide, please. And I'll turn this over to Jay Huff, who's one of the lead drilling folks for Zamstar, to kind of go over the design on the initial design of the wells and operations.
Thanks, Mike. So for the well design for these wells, we have three hole sections. So the first hole section, we'll plan to drill a 24-inch hole down to about 1,000 feet, and then run 18 5/8 casing and fully cement that to surface. That surface casing will be set hundreds of feet below any freshwater resources. Our next hole section, we'll drill a 17.5-inch hole down to about 5,000 feet. We'll have a BOP installed on our surface casing. We'll then run our 13 3/8 production casing and cement that one fully to surface as well. The reason why we're drilling such a big well is to accommodate the large flow rates that Mike mentioned in the previous slide, and to meet those flow rates, we'll need a large pump size that 13 3/8 is required for. And then our last hole section, we'll drill a 12.25-inch hole from about 5,000 feet down to 10,000 feet. One deviation that we're requesting for the AZOGCC regulations is to reduce the production casing test pressure down to 2,000 PSI. When drilling these wells, it's expected that we'll have lost circulation, so there won't be excessive surface pressure applied to any of these wells. And during production, all these wells will require to be pumped, so the static fluid level in the well will be about 1,000 to 2,000 feet below ground level. And some of the wellhead equipment that we're running on this well is only rated to 3,000 PSI. So with approval from the Conservation Commission, we would like to reduce the pressure, and that's spelled out more in the drilling program that we included in our permit. Once we TD the well, we'll run open hole wireline logs, perform a production test to confirm the permeability of the resource, and then we'll run the 9 5/8 slotted liner, and then move on to the second well. Any questions on the well design or the drilling plans?
Commissioners, are there any questions you have so far? No questions yet. Go ahead.
Thank you. So this is a description or a view of the drilling unit. So our target is on the east side of the San Francisco River. All of the land within that drilling unit, we control the mineral estate we control the surface. There's a couple of exceptions, but so this property here is the Corbell piece. Mr. Corbell owns the surface rights here. Freeport owns the mineral rights underneath that. This parcel here is Potter Ranch. We are in escrow to buy that land. We do not yet have title to it. So we'll likely be requesting, I don't know if we can get a contingent approval subject to us providing evidence of it. It's supposed to close next month. It was supposed to close 2 months ago, so it's just been taking a little time to get the title work done on it. But we have these 4 drill pads. We're likely to drill from this first pad, cross over and hit the target there, and then with what we learn from that, decide where we're going to drill from the other pads that we're asking for approval on today. Within this entire section 19, there are only 2 wells that are owned by parties other than Freeport. They're both very shallow wells. There's one up here that is 70 feet deep. It's completed in the floodplain alluvium of the San Francisco River. And then there's another one across the street here, or across the river here, that's 20 feet deep. And I don't even know if that well exists anymore. It was drilled well before the 83 floods that created a lot of havoc down through here. So we're going to be 10,000 feet below these with 5,000 feet of seal above them. We do not believe we'll be impacting things along the alluvium of the San Francisco River, and that's part of what the modeling work that we will be doing will demonstrate. So with that, that's the end of our presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioners, do you have any comments or questions? Mr. Ballard, Commissioner Ballard, I thought you had something you wanted to ask.
Didn't know if you wanted to speak first. I just want to say I really appreciate your presentation. I thought that was a very good rundown, and we really are very supportive of the project. There's a little luck. This could actually be the first large scale production of geothermal energy, so to speak, in Arizona. So it's an exciting project for all of us.
Yes, I would concur with that. By the way, we also have the DEQ water with us today, as well as our AAG, and we have the Geologic Survey, and we have state land with us as well. And I neglected to mention that when we started at the beginning. So, commissioners, where do we need to go on this? What concerns do you have, if any? How do we want to proceed with this, commissioners?
Well, this is Commissioner Ballard. I'm not sure exactly how we wish to deal with the 2,000 PSI testing limit. It's, I mean, it sounds reasonable. I don't know if we need any kind of additional expert opinion, or if my sense of being reasonable is adequate. I'm not a drilling engineer.
Our AAG, Taylor, can we give conditional approval to any of this with contingencies?
Taylor Parmenter, AAG. Yes, that's up to the commission to make a motion. I would just recommend that it's clear on what that condition is.
Thank you. Commissioner Ballard, do you feel up to making a motion? And if we needed some changes, AAG Parmenter, would you jump in and help him with it?
A motion in regards to the pad 2 land ownership issue, or
let's just start off on the first pad and go through each one of them. And
okay. Well, I'd be glad to do that. I guess if we could go to the index map associated with the pad 1 form 3, which is the permit to drill.
Chairman Thorwald, sorry to interrupt. This is Taylor Parmenter. Another option, if the commission needs a lot of information and a lot of these approvals would be conditional, the commission can wait to take a vote at the next session or have a special meeting in the future if that is also easier for the commission. Just more options.
Thank you. Let's go through each one of the pads first and see what that is, and then we'll make our decisions after that.
Okay, well, I just want to talk a little bit about, the path forward in getting these applications finished up. And one challenge that we have to deal with a little bit is that the traditional procedures of identifying drilling units and their relationships to the bottom hole location and things like that are required to be in relationship to the township range and section grids. So this is a very good illustration of for instance, pad one, which is kind of a left center. I don't think I have a pointer, but that actually you can see. But you can see it's almost east-west, which would be the preferred orientation for the normal spacing units that we authorize. And we can deal with slightly different spacing units, but I'm just saying the path forward that we need from today is just kind of decide if we're going to make adjustments and then incorporate those adjustments as final versions of these drilling permits and get these things moving ahead. I will say that there's a little bit of terminology disconnect or whatever in Arizona. The drilling unit, as opposed to being a large area of operations of multiple wells, is actually the area that you wish to assign to one well. So a multi-well program like this would have 4 drilling units and plenty of room from others. And the whole area, it doesn't really matter if you use that terminology, but it's not the drilling unit that's related to spacing that we need to define in relationship to the permit. So for instance, instead of having a really large drilling unit, so to speak, like this, which do exist in Arizona, we have 640-acre drilling units, and there's only one well right in the middle. And we know that's, of course, not what you're looking for. You have a fairly small target in mind. So instead of a really large, quote unquote, drilling unit, I'm actually recommending that we go for pretty much the smallest one that we commonly deal with, which is a 10-acre spacing drilling unit. And it just so happens these green boxes are 10 acres. Interesting, just to keep things in scale. So when we say 10-acre spacing for an approved spacing unit, it means you could technically drill the whole area that you have rights to with vertical wells every 10 acres. But of course, we're talking about lateral wells here, horizontal wells. And so what you do basically is stretch the 10-acre zone out, so to speak. If you took, for instance, that light green box, just stretched it out into a rectangle to go to the east, however many 10-acre boxes it would take would become the acreage that is dedicated to that well and would be considered the drilling unit. So they would stretch all the way across to the bottom hole location. So there'd be quite a few 10-acre spacings. I don't know, probably 60 or 80 acres would be considered dedicated to that well. Now, so that's basically the approach we'd like to take in permitting these wells. And one obvious initial issue is the wells are going kind of a little bit north of east. And so we have 2 options. We either straighten them out and go east-west, which is a little easier as far as the permitting boxes go, but it's not overwhelming if the technical justification for drilling the wells just like that is what you guys want to emphasize. We can take the long rectangle that would ordinarily be just, directly east-west, and it can be uplifted on the right-hand side into a parallelogram with approximately the same acreage as if it were an east-west box. And that box and that bottom hole location, if we could go back to the pad 1 permit, that's what needs to be here. And so like I was saying, of course, if it were a standard, completely standard permitting procedure, that well would go due east, I think to about here. This is your lease line. It won't cross that, but it'll go far enough over to actually include your bottom hole location. And that would be the dedicated acreage. And of course, we also need the actual well tracked bottom hole location plotted on this. So like I say, the option would be to keep it completely routine, would be to straighten out the wells a little bit more east-west. Or if you have strong technical reasons for being a little bit north of east, then there'd be one side of the parallelogram would be here, and then just go down to here, over here, up to there, and then up. And of course, inside of it, comfortably in the middle, so to speak, would be your track for your bottom hole location, which, like I say, is actually about here now. Yeah, see, it's a little bit above that track line, and it would be there. So we can go either way. I don't think it's an
This is
overwhelming
Wendy
change.
Flood, Commissioner Ballard. Do you want me to draw that line again?
If you want to, it would go from here.
Well, I'm just trying to make sure I'm reflecting.
Yeah,
what
I
you're
think we
doing.
made that point.
Like that?
So, modification of the drilling program is sounds dramatic. I've been in organizations that drilled lots of horizontal wells, and if you're not that far along, that kind of thing is not really that big of a change. But geologically, if it's something you want to accomplish, that's fine. The other issue I might touch upon, if we are still considering the fundamental well plan, is do you want to have multiple pads? It's of course possible to go that route. I would think at least probably all three of the southern wells could be drilled from a large pad, but once again, that would probably not be a huge change to the program at this point. But you may have already made that decision, and we don't have a fundamental problem with 3 pads, but of course, one pad, a larger one, reduces the environmental impact, and it might reduce the cost of some of your facilities. So I'm just introducing a couple of reasons why we might want to modify the drilling path. If we don't, we can proceed to the drawing of the box and the bottom hole location on the permit and proceed with it as it is.
Yes,
Okay.
Commissioner Ballard, pardon me. Sure.
Mr. Lacy, would you like to respond to Commissioner Ballard?
Yeah, just a couple of, I mean, one of the reasons the pads are oriented the way they are and are as awkward as they are is this terrain is fairly extreme.
Oh yeah.
So just getting onto these pads is going to be a real challenge, and the cut and fill necessary to build them is really why the orientations are the way they are.
Oh, the orientation doesn't matter. I mean, I'm just saying if you've considered it, you might reduce the number of pads and drill the wells directionally, a little bit more directionally.
Yeah, I suspect we will do that. But this is sort of the approach we've chosen. So question for you on the trace is, would it be acceptable to stack, so where the lines cross over the 10-acre boundaries, would it be acceptable to stack 2 10-acre pieces on top of each other at that point where they cross over? So then you would still have sort of standard TRS 10-acre descriptions. They would just be stacked on top of each other. That might be easier than describing the parallelogram in a way that
you can, and especially when we get to talking about number 2, when you get to a certain point here, you're probably going to have to downstep or draw your parallelogram for sure. The parallelogram probably be easier, but you come into the same kind of situation. But as far as the multiple pads go, like if this was the way they were drilled, when number 6 came in, of course it's in the same spacing unit, so to speak, as this other well, number 1. But what we will perfectly willingly accept is what has to happen is that number 6 well has to be in its own box by the time you complete. So it doesn't matter if you're having to deviate away from one pad. You build the angle as reasonable from your drilling contractors, and then once you're in the zone where you anticipate completing the well, you just have to be in the appropriate spacing.
Commissioners, do you have any other comments on what is being stated? Commissioner Ballard, do you have anything more you want to address on these?
Well, that's about it for pad number one. Like I say, there's two ways to proceed. Basically finalizing the bottom hole location and then, just updating the plat. Once if we're not going to change the bottom hole location, that's pretty straightforward to draw in the rectangle. We're pretty close to being there. If it would take a little time, if you were going to consider a change in the bottom hole location, as soon as that was available, we would finish up these plats and the permit pretty quickly. Okay, because I'll just point it out, if we don't want to jump all the way to
Mr.
pad two next, all the way up there far to the north.
Given
well-
Commissioner Ballard, given the complexity on the first one, maybe it would be better if we just go ahead and vote and make some kind of motion on the first one, or do them each individually, or would it be better, commissioners, to do all of them? It seems like that given what Commissioner Ballard is saying, a motion could get a little complicated if we take them all together.
True.
Commissioners, what would you like to do?
Chairman Thorwald, this is Wendy Flood. Administrator Roberts had her hand up.
Yeah, I just had a question for FMI. If you, in the event of a sidetrack that you had to that might have to happen just because you didn't get kicked off and you had to go, would a 10-acre spacing hinder that at all?
So if we had to go to an alternative bottom hole location,
Yeah, or just if that sidetrack would cause you to have to deviate enough that you would be outside that 10-acre spacing. I mean, is that anything of concern?
I think it was mechanical sidetrack, like for whatever reason we had to sidetrack due to some kind of mechanical failure of the drill string and leaving a fish down hole. I don't think the 10-acre spacing would, but if it
Okay,
was a geologic sidetrack such that we didn't encounter permeability, then I would think the 10 acres would, but that would probably be a different like permit application.
okay.
Yeah, just to mention, Commissioner Ballard, your 10-acre drilling box, so to speak, will be 660 acres, 660 feet rather, wide, and you will have the 100-foot exclusion zone that you mentioned that would work into your plans here. So you'll have 440 feet. If you have to get out of that because of some drilling problem, then that can be rectified. You've got all the surrounding acreage, so it's not the normal worry that you deviate into somebody else's acreage. So it'll just be a matter of redrawing boxes if there has to be a change. So Chairman Thorwald, I guess I'm not sure exactly what we want to vote on now. The form, the permit is not in precisely final form. There's a couple of decisions that need to be made. Even if they want to go forward with the simplest, I guess, from their point of view, the plan of leaving the bottom hole location for pad one the same, we could vote on I'm not sure what exactly we would be voting on, verbal approval, pending the changes to be made on the form and finalized at a later date.
AAG, what do you think would be the best from a legal perspective?
This is Taylor Parmenter. If there are a lot of changes that the commission would like to see before final approval, I would recommend waiting to receive that information and either voting at the next public meeting, or we could schedule a special session to have this vote at a later date. If the conditions are fairly straightforward and simple, then we could do conditional approval now.
Commissioners, what would you like to do? Mr. Conway, Commissioner Conway? Commissioner
I'm
Conway,
perfectly fine with going ahead and permitting them now in the event, at least in a preliminary sense.
Commissioner Fire Robin, what are your thoughts?
I'm okay with that.
Okay. Commissioner Ballard?
No, that's kind of what I'm suggesting. I just didn't know exactly how to word it. Yeah, so assuming the bottom hole location is is not going to change, then in particular, I'd be fine to go ahead with a preliminary approval, and the actual formal approval will be done when we get all these little boxes plotted and things like that cleaned up on the permit.
Would you like to make some attempt at a motion?
Okay. Well, I guess my point in bringing up the alternatives was that that I didn't really know how finalized their drilling plan is.
Well, we have Mr. Lacy. Would you like to respond further to Mr. Commissioner Ballard?
Yeah, and I'd like to defer that answer to Dr. Ernest, if I may.
Yeah,
He's the one setting the targets.
Yeah, so I appreciate the observation about the wells are not going directly due east, but very, very close to that. And I think, yeah, from this map view, you can clearly see what the intended target is. It's not a single point, but it's definitely a pretty small area that we're targeting. So I would say I would want to proceed with whatever is easiest to permit the wells now. We can certainly make the changes that have been requested. And to me, it sounds like they would not be significant changes to the bottom hole location. Even if we were to just slightly deviate them or not deviate, but orient them directly due east, those would not be significant changes. So I'm not hearing anything that would prevent us from, permitting it now and as long as it's contingent and then making those contingencies. Unless I'm missing something where there's a very obvious, we're going to have to put some work into this, and then it wouldn't be a contingency, it would be a wait and resubmit.
Ballard, do you want to go ahead and
Well, I would say the commission supports the drilling of this well, all four of them actually, but pad one, and I would move that we approve the drilling of the well, just pending the finalizing of the form, which is not very, very difficult. The most complicated thing, as we just discussed, a little adjustment to the bottom hole location is not going to change the fundamental concept or anyway. So I vote for approval, just conditional on ironing those little details out.
Do we have a second?
Hi,
This is
Robin,
Mike.
second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Any abstention? Any nays? Hearing none, the motion carries. Let's move on to the.
Chairman Thorwald, this is Wendy Flood.
Yes, Wendy.
Can we just specify what the items are that will hinder the approval? This is a conditional approval pending what additional items, just so we have it clear for the record?
Commissioner Ballard, would you itemize those, please, again?
Really, it's just the finalization of the bottom hole location, and it's anticipated will not change very much, but any little adjustment that's made has to be decided upon before the forms are filled out and all the T's are crossed. So that really is the only one. Everything else is really just kind of contingent on that. The modification of the 10-acre spacing would just be in response to that slight change in bottom hole location or not.
Thank you.
This is Taylor Parmenter. Was that motion for only pad one or for all 4 pads?
That was just pad one.
Okay, thank you.
Correct.
We'll
Mr.
move
Chairman,
on.
may I?
Go ahead.
Yeah, Thank you. So is it subject to receipt of definition of the drilling unit in a form acceptable to the commission?
Commissioner Ballard, you were muted there, I thought, for a moment.
Okay, well, I don't know if we want to have some continued dialogue with staff about that. Basically, it's your decision. If you wish to keep the current bottom hole location, then the forms would just have to be filled out with that parallelogram 10-acre box. You can go ahead and get that done. I wouldn't be surprised if a little QC is going to be required, with staff to make sure the permit's in its final form. If you decide to change it to do east-west, it's a little bit easier as far as the regulatory situation goes. But if you do, then you can just proceed with filling out a more, east-west box around the 10-acre location. And either way it comes back to us, we'll work with it.
Okay.
Sure.
We'll work with Administrator Roberts to.
Chairman Thurwell, could I make a couple of comments?
Yes, Administrator Roberts.
I would also like to see in your drilling plan what your proposed lateral survey interval is. We don't, in our rules, we don't have a minimum specific feet, but if you could propose what you are proposing for your surveys in the lateral. In the vertical, it's 500 feet, but we don't have anything for the lateral. So if you could, when you make these revisions, if you could include that. And then also per R12-7 121B, the requirements for cuttings, evaluation of cuttings is 10 feet. So if you want to change that, that would probably be the time to change that too, and recommend the footage that you would be looking for sample collection.
Thank you, Administrator Roberts. Commissioner Ballard, do you want to move on to pad 2?
Sure. I think with all the preliminary discussion we've had, it'll go faster. Because as I was saying before, we've got a permit as far along as identifying the surface location, the drilling pad, and you have provided separately a path. In this case, it's a lot less standard. I don't believe there's really any need to go to this is going to be a customized drilling unit or dedication of acreage. And so I would just, taking the same principle in mind, I would start off with the width of a 10-acre spacing, and it would go south. It would ground your choke point where you want to maintain your 100-foot offset from a lease line, so to speak. And then it's going to go diagonal, so it's going to be very difficult to stay within any kind of a standard 10-acre location. Just keep it the same width so that the well is centered on approximately that would be 660 feet centered, and take it all the way down to include the bottom hole location. Yeah, I don't. There's not much of an alternative to this one. Tweaking the bottom hole location won't really change how difficult it is to describe the drilling unit. So that would be my comment as far as location 2. I know your comments earlier. I mean, we should continue to go ahead and get the drilling permit ready. You're saying that, I think that this is the block, you're saying the contract's not completely in hand, and that's already been addressed separately as to how that would be handled. But we'd probably keep it in a batch and go ahead and modify the diagram for the drilling permit as we discussed, and I think it'd be pretty much ready to go.
Mr. Lacy, do you have any comments you'd like to respond to from Commissioner Ballard?
No, well, I think we can. I mean, is it possible to stack the 10-acre pieces to keep it centered along the way, and you would just have
Yeah, I'm suggesting really, you know,
Just take,
it's gonna turn into a parallelogram. It's probably, you know,
Okay.
yeah, you know, another 10, and then you can probably go straight south for, you know, all the way to the midsection. And then when your angle starts to build across this corner, you know, you're gonna have to go ahead and, you know, it's gonna, you might be able to get away with one standard here and one standard there. And then, you know, from about here on, you know, it's probably gonna have to be a parallelogram. Just keep the same width as this 10-acre width, so that the trace of the well is centered, you know, on that,
Right.
and you'll have to go down and include the, of course, the bottom hole location.
Will that work
Yeah,
for
I'm,
you?
I'm looking at these stacked bottom hole locations. I guess that's something you've thought about. You're gonna be at a fairly similar depth at all these bottom hole locations, I think. So you might want to keep that in mind. If they're probably not. If they're less than 100 feet, then, you know, that's probably a area of concern. It's not a concern going ahead and including them in the area dedication.
Mr. Lacy, does that work for you?
we'll make it work, Chairman Thorwald.
Commissioner, do you have any other questions or comments? Mr. Ballard, do you want to make a motion?
Yes, I think we're in a better, clearer position here. As far as just finalizing the, I don't even think there's if the bottom of the location has changed for some reason according to your own purposes, that's fine. We can incorporate at this stage. If not, I think all we really need is the land dedication outlined on the plat, and you can proceed with this application. So I would move that we approve the well associated with pad 2, just contingent on finalizing the well path diagram and the drilling permit to our satisfaction.
Do we have a second for that motion?
Conway, I second it.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Hearing none, the motion carries. Let's move on to pad 4. Commissioner Ballard, do you have anything on pad 4 that you want to address?
It's really a very similar situation to pad 1. If we straighten it out a little bit more east-west, the 10-acre locations would fit together a little better. If there's any geologic or procedural reason that you don't want to do that, that's acceptable. One way or the other, I think I think the well's ready to approve with once again, just the caveat of any kind of final tweaking to the bottom hole location and the associated adjustment to the dedicated acreage box is pretty straightforward.
Mr. Lacy, is that all right with you?
Yes, Chairman.
Okay. Commissioner Ballard, commissioners, any discussion on that before we ask for a motion? Commissioner Ballard, do you want to go ahead with a motion?
Okay, I should have written it down, and so I could be more consistent from well to well. But yes, I think we should approve the well associated with pad number 4, pending the final little tweaking of the bottom hole location. If that's done, and the completion of the dedicated acreage box and other details that we will do to the Form 3, the drilling permit, in order to finalize it.
We have a second.
Conway, second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Mr. Firerobin? Can't hear you, Commissioner. Is Commissioner Firerobin still with us?
He's muted.
Could you unmute? Commissioner Fire Robin, we still can't hear you.
This is Angela Kane. I've sent a message asking him to unmute.
Give him a moment. We have a quorum anyway without his vote. So let's just move forward until he can get his technical problems resolved. That motion carries with the votes we've got. So let's move on to the next pad 6.
Well, I can continue to dominate the conversation here. Pad 6, the well to be drilled from pad 6 is going to be what we call an infill well in our 10-acre scheme. In other words, you guys are more or less planning on splitting the difference between the well coming from pad number 1 and the well coming from pad number 4. So that's usually something that's done later on, after the other wells are drilled. There's no reason we can't plan for it now. And of course, if you decided to drill that one and like instead of number 1, then we can modify the boxes and make it not be an infill well. But since nothing's been drilled and we want to go ahead and proceed with permitting it, I really think the only way to go is to consider it an infill well. So it will be a well that basically steals acreage, so to speak, from the other spacing units, and in order to I guess more finely explore the fracture zone or increase the volume. I can think of lots of reasons, maybe even, although we're not considering injection wells today, maybe an injection well. So I guess, yeah, I guess I'd have almost a recommendation that perhaps we hold off on permitting this well. If you want it in your portfolio to choose from, to maybe even drill it instead of one of the other wells, we have to go through just a little bit different procedure. The box that we draw for the well will be more or less, like I say, more or less a 440 foot wide corridor that would be running along the intersection line between the dedicated boxes for well number 4 and well number 1. Once again, as I mentioned earlier, since it's coming in from the side, the ability to complete the well you can't complete it when they're stacked right up underneath the same pad or adjacent pads. You'll be restricted to where the well enters its assigned corridor, its assigned dedication acreage box with a 100-foot barrier. So in other words, you probably should be able to complete anywhere near where you're interested in completing, but it will offer a little bit of restrictions drilling it the way you do. If all these wells got straightened out and were east-west, that would reduce that limitation to some extent. But like I say, if we want to go now, we need to make a little more narrow box to associate with that well bore. And we have to go through a slightly different procedure because it's an infill or a spacing exception, more or less. It's not that big of a deal because you have all the acreage around it, but I think we do have to go through a notice, a separate hearing. It couldn't be done probably before our next scheduled meeting. I don't think it can't be expedited quite as fast as the others. But once again, if you don't want to change the way the program is designed, I think we can go with it as it is. Any adjustments really should be made at this point. But I think we can go ahead, contingent that we will have to, both receive the final acreage dedication corridor plot. And we will have to probably take it to the next hearing of the commission in order to satisfy the requirements for a spacing change.
Mr. Lacy, your response to Commissioner Ballard?
Yeah, so we're still doing engineering on the pads and trying to figure out which of those is going to be most practical to build. And I don't know, one of my team members, Jose Brown, is on the call, who's on the project development side of things. Jose, I don't, and whether we permit site 6 or site 1 is sort of the question, I think, as to which one we would prefer to get permitted
My
today.
recommendation actually is
Yeah.
to postpone. We're trying to kind of rush the others so you guys will have what you need.
Right.
If it's still being designed or is in any way contingent, I would suggest we put it on a little bit of a rush, less of a rush order, and take it up at our next regularly scheduled meeting or shortly thereafter. It shouldn't be a long process, but everybody should really finish their design work first.
So I was going to comment on that. Can you hear me, please? Sorry.
Yes, we can hear
Yes.
you.
Yeah, so I think based on some of the preliminary work that we've done, right? I think currently,
Excuse me for interrupting. Could you announce who you are? We haven't been doing that as well as we should here.
sorry, my name is Jose Brown. I work for Freeport. I'm a project manager with our project development group, and I'm leading this geothermal project for Freeport. So yeah, back to the question here, right? So we've done some preliminary work in terms of being able to get access to these pad locations. And so far, the direction we're going with, right, in terms of preference between pad 1 and 6 is that we want to make pad 6 our preferred location, right? So if we're going to make an infill well, I think it will make sense to make pad 1 that infill, right, and use and rather permit part 6 for us to begin with, if that makes sense, right? That's what we want to use as the preferred location for the initial drilling, and then we'll determine if part 1 would be necessary or not, right? And so we want to obviously go ahead, permit 6, right, and make sure we can actually do the work and determine later on if we're going to need 1. If that makes sense.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Commissioners, what is your thoughts on what Commissioner Ballard has been saying and Mr. Brown's comments?
This is Conway. I think it sounds perfectly fine to sort of put this one aside for a little bit.
Commissioner Fire-Robin?
Agree.
Commissioner Ballard, do you want to go ahead and make a motion then?
Well, I think if I heard clearly, you're going to drill what is plotted out as the well from the 01, probably by the 06, from the 06 pad. That introduces no real complication in my mind. But as far as the permitting, the separately permitting of the well that that's currently shown as being drilled from pad 6, we'd like to know what the final plan is before we try and expedite permitting. We'll continue to do some work on it, and once again, kind of like the others, it's going to be dependent on your final decisions as they impact the well path. In this case, it's probably more the well path than the actual bottom hole location. It's like I say, if it's still the stage that it's going to change, I think I'd rather hold off approving it or voting on it really at all until at least our next meeting. It's only 6 weeks.
Oh, are you gonna? Do you have a motion?
Well, I move we defer action on the well that's being indicated as drilling from pad 6 until it seems like some technical decisions are made on a pad location and the final orientation of the drilling.
Do we have a second? Go ahead.
Sorry, can I ask a question, right? So we have two we have two wells, right? One on pad 1 and the other on pad 6. Can we go ahead and permit the well on pad 6 and rather defer the trajectory on pad 1?
Well, yeah, I guess maybe I didn't hear you completely clearly. Yeah, whichever pad it leaves from, I guess I was thinking that the well that's now associated with pad 1 was your first choice to drill, even
Oh.
even if it is done from pad 6.
So pad 6 is our preferred pad, right? And so the trajectory on that pad is the preferred well we want to drill first, right? So if we're going to put anything on hold, I want to make sure that pad 6 it's rather permitted, right? And then 1 we could make that decision later, right? If we are worried about the
Okay.
So if I'm
okay, I understand. Well, let me get some more clarification then. If we defer the permitting for a little while on what's now being highlighted on the screen, the well path that's going to have to be an infill well, and that's presently shown as going from pad 6. If that well is just put off a little while till they make some final decisions, then yeah, I mean, what the well to the south, whether it gets straightened out a little bit more east-west or not, that can come from either pad 1 or pad 6. Just on the final plat, with the box, just pick one. Pick the pad that you wish to drill that well from. You can see it's probably very convenient to drill it from either location.
Commissioner Thorwald or Chairman Thorwald, Commissioner Ballard, if I may, if when we revise the drilling unit for what is the well from pad 1 and relocate the wellhead to pad 6, when we come back in, we could do that, and then we could treat the pad 6 trace as an infill at a future time. And that would already, that wouldn't require us to undo the approval of pad 1 already, if that makes sense.
No, I see no reason to. We're going to go ahead and yeah, I mean, now's the chance, I guess, to decide if you want to keep the southernmost well associated with pad 1 or not. If you want to change it to pad 6, now's the time to do it. When it came around time to drill that infill well, I don't think there'll be much delay, but all these technical matters being settled will make it a lot easier. It could come from either pad also. I hear some hesitancy in trying to make larger pads that can handle more than one well, but it would not change at all the permitting of whichever pad you associate with the southernmost well.
Mr. Brown, Mr. Lacy, any comments? Any additional?
I think we'll just, when we come back in and redefine the unit for pad 1, we will shift it to the west and have it come from the pad that is currently referenced as pad 6. And then we will treat the trace off of pad 6 as an infill well, more than likely from that same pad at some time in the future.
That sounds perfectly acceptable.
Okay.
Commissioners, any further discussion on this before I ask for a motion? Hearing none, Commissioner Ballard, would you make a motion, please?
Well, like I say, a lot of these details will be worked out when we're having the final set of plats. As far as pad 6 goes now, I suggest that we defer approval of the well that is now shown as being drilled from pad 6 until everything else gets a little more finalized.
Is there a second for that motion?
Hi, Robin. Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. And this Chairman Thorwald and I say aye. Any nays or abstentions? Hearing none, the motion carries. Let's some housekeeping. Commissioner Fire on pad 4, how did you vote on the previous one? You were muted and we couldn't hear you.
Yeah, sorry about that. Affirmative. I'm going with the majority.
Okay, thank you. Administrator Roberts, let us move on to the next item to C on the agenda if we don't have anything else. Oh, no, we've got B, drilling units, sorry. We've got to deal with that on 1B5.
And
Well-
if I could, that was added to the agenda to discuss everything that you've already discussed. So,
Okay. Then we
I'm
can
gonna-
move on to 1C.
all right. Thank you. Thank you, Chairman Thorwald. The next items on the agenda are all about things that we have been doing as a program to just address some of our file records and cleanups. So I'll start with Triumph. I don't know if anybody from Triumph is here to speak. If you are, let me know. But what we're doing, what Triumph requested here is to extend temporary abandonment for an additional 2 years. And they sent that in a letter on March 16th, as you can see here. And that is up for the commission as to whether they want to approve the temporary abandonment.
Mr. Clements, Mr. Bowles, or are either of you here to discuss this?
Chairman Thorwald, this is Mr. Clement. Yes, I'm available. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Yeah, I don't. I think pretty much open to discuss that. The commission's been very generous in their ability to allow us further development of our drilling unit out there, as I explained briefly in the letter. And I don't have anything other than what questions someone might have that they don't get answered in that request.
Commissioners, do you have any questions for Triumph? Commissioner Ballard, did you? I thought you had something.
Oh, yes, Chairman Thorwald, I almost always have an opinion. I guess my main comment is getting to be a long time. We know this was an encouraging, very key well for interest in the area, but at some point, we have to make a final decision. But more interim decision that would have to be made is to pressure test this well. A wellbore diagram showing a good casing program doesn't last. It doesn't provide evidence forever that there's a good pressure seal on the well. So I'm not advocating insisting on it this time, but for any longer period of temporary abandonment, I think you're going to have to work that into your plans. So I don't have I do not oppose the extension, but I add that caveat.
And that's well taken. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Clements. Commissioners, is there any other questions for Triumph or any more discussion? In that case, I would entertain a motion for 1C.
Well, to move things along, I will make the motion that we extend their period of temporary abandonment by 2 years for the Triumph well.
We have a second for that motion.
Conway, second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstention? The motion carries.
Thank you to
Have
the,
approval.
thank you to the commission.
Let us move on to 1D, Cobalt Group.
All right, thank you. This under Cobalt, again, this is historical information. We're just trying to get the files cleaned up. Per that email that was sent on 3/23, they're providing information that the well has been cemented and plugged. They were not able to provide pictures, but they did provide the detailed information. So if this information satisfies what the commission needs, that is part of this agenda item.
And that would cover D one
One.
and two?
Yeah.
D1.
D1.
Is it D1 only? Okay. Commissioners, is there any questions we have on D1? Any discussion? Hearing none, do we have a motion on D1? Commissioner Ballard, it seems like it's your day. Do you want to try
I
to?
guess. Well, I can't understand how they can't get somebody to go over there and take a picture. But I don't think that it's a big enough issue to pursue. I hope they did. I hope they marked it, and I hope they got the cement all the way to the top. But yeah, I don't think we should take any corrective action.
Commissioners, do you agree with Commissioner Ballard? Or any discussion on this? Hearing none, do we have a motion on this? Commissioner Conway, just to mix it up, do you want to try to do a motion?
Yeah, sure. This is well, yeah, the motion that we go ahead and approve this. Typically at the end of the life of a well like this, isn't there a pressure test? And did they do one? And do we have that data?
Well, I can answer quickly, although we do have a triumphant representative. This was a shallow well. I guess it was a lost hole. It's not very deep, and it was just they drilled it and lost it and just moved over. I think it's 700 feet deep.
Do we have a commission representative from Cobalt here?
Yes, this is Scott Bowles with Cobalt Group. Hi, everybody. To confirm, the total depth of that well was 574 feet.
Okay.
Okay. Well, this is in terms of this is Conway again. In terms of a motion, then I motion that we accept this.
Do we have a second?
Fire Robin, second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Hearing none, the motion carries. Let's move on to 1D2.
Okay, thank you, Chairman Thorwald. This is Cobalt 20-21-21 number 1. They submitted a sundry notice to reestablish TA. And what happened is it expired and it never got extended. So it's kind of, it's an after the fact, but we're just trying to complete the files and make sure that the approvals are consistent. So that is for item D2.
Commissioners, do you have any discussion questions on item D2?
Mr. Chairman, I have a question. How long of an extension are they requesting?
2 years, if that's possible.
2-year period?
We have a request for 2-year extension. Do we have a motion, D2?
Yeah, this is Conway. I move that we go ahead and approve the extension, temporary abandonment for a 2-year period.
Do we have a second?
Aye, Robin, second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Mr. Ballard, Commissioner Ballard, aye or
Oh, aye. Sure.
any opposed? Any abstentions? Hearing none, the motion carries. Let's move on to 1E, Proton Green.
Thank you, Chairman Thorwald. Proton Green is requesting temporary abandonment status. They requested this on 3/16. They completed their helium pilot project and they want to request 2-year 2-year status for that. And I believe somebody from Proton Green is here to
Hi,
speak.
yes, this is Marta Wasco from Proton Green. I am on the call. I'm happy to talk through it for you guys.
Please.
Absolutely. So Proton Green is requesting temporary abandonment status for the 11830 MRHZ. We did complete our pilot project and subsequent pre-processing testing. Through that, we gathered data for the design and engineering of a scaled helium plant. Subsequent pre-processing testing allowed us to identify necessary inline equipment needed in order to make sure we ensure gas spec with our new plant. But we've at this time completed our pre-processing testing. We may need additional testing in the future, but we will reassess with the commission at that point. But at this time, we're waiting on the construction of the scaled helium processing plant. In terms of well integrity, we have no concern regarding the well integrity. During the production of this well for the last couple of years, we've had no free water, only dry gas. We also had our gas tested several times throughout the duration of production and ensured that there was no moisture content. And because of that, we have no concern regarding corrosion. That being said, the last mechanical integrity test on this well was completed in June of 2021, so approximately 4.5 years ago. And then Kinder Morgan, I just also want to address that Kinder Morgan, when they held this unit, they had previously in 2011 and then reconfirmed in 2013 had requested that the commission grant a motion to approve temporary abandonment status for all wells within the St. John's unit for the duration of the St. John's unit agreement. So we've been operating under that assumption since we acquired the asset in 2021. But we are still approaching the commission and requesting at least a 2-year temporary abandonment approval at this time for this well.
Commissioners, your thoughts on this? Any questions?
Well, this is Commissioner Ballard. Just thank you for the rundown. I guess my main point is this well produced has reported production from 2024. If you're going to close it on now, isn't it going to be shut in, not temporarily abandoned?
It's a fair point. Originally, I had talked with Samantha and Wendy regarding shut-in status. Given the previous approval from the commission for temporary abandonment status for all of the wells, that's why I changed the status to kind of go in line with the status of all of our other wells. That being said, I would be open to that if that's what the commission would prefer.
Well, the other fellow commissioners, that's what I would recommend. Once a well has gone on production, it doesn't really matter if in the past it was under a temporarily abandonment. Really needs to go forward as a shut-in well. That would be my preference anyway. And I see no reason for 2 more years. I wish it was only 1.
Well, we anticipate the process to not take that long. I just want to ensure a sufficient buffer so that we're not having to bring this back to the commission in case, any delays occur.
Yeah, it's not the paperwork. I wish we had the production back for Arizona. Thank you.
Me too.
Commissioners, do you have any additional questions? Hearing none, do we have a motion?
This is Conway. I move that we accept the temporary abandonment of Proton Green's helium well for a period of 2 years.
Do we have a second?
Aye, Robbins, second.
We have a motion and second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Commissioner Ballard?
I know it might be semantics, but I have to vote nay for temporary abandonment. It needs to be shut in status. It's virtually the same.
Okay. We have the motion carries what with one nay. We will move on to item 1F on the agenda.
Thank you. 1F is in regards to Myriad Resources. We have been trying to reach out to them, and Wendy has been handling that, so I'm going to have her talk about where that is at.
Yes, hi. Thank you, commissioners and Chairman Thorwall. This came in front of the commission last month in regards to a lack of response that we've been getting from Myriad Resources, basically ever since they had an ownership change. They let us know about it, and then since then, we really haven't heard much. They were given a conditional approval for a temporary abandonment pending a casing integrity test. They came back and wanted extension on the casing integrity test, and then we haven't really heard anything since that time. Those have all expired. We also, so we sent out, as per the commission's vote last meeting, we did send out a letter from Chairman Thorwall following up on a letter that was sent from Administrator Roberts to the statutory agent, as well as to the managing member who we were told to communicate with. Both of those letters have come back unclaimed or unresponsive. And actually, the statutory agent came back stating that they are not the statutory agent, even though our research showed that they were. Therefore, under consultation with the AG's office, we have gone to the next level, and we have sent follow-up communications to the stat agent company in Colorado, which is also where the principals are located for Myriad in Colorado. So both of them have been sent additional communications, copies of all the letters and previous communications. So we are still attempting to reach them. But then this has also shed to light that their stat agent is now incorrect, because according to statute, you're supposed to have stat agent in the state of where you are doing business. So that's the update. Still trying to reach somebody at Myriad, and those letters went to FedEx today to the principal in Colorado and to the alternative stat agent address in Colorado. So I just want to give you an update and didn't know what further steps you may want to take, or any other further comments or direction from the commission on this topic.
Commissioners,
Can you hear me? Hello?
can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Who is
This is Scott Sears.
Oh, hi.
How are you? And I am the one who bought the Myriad interests along with my owners, and I'm here to kind of throw myself at the mercy of the committee. But beyond that, I very much apologize for this disarray. I just to give you a little background on myself. I am the person who approached the landowner out here. I'm the person who generated this prospect across this ranch, and caused for the wells to be drilled by Confluence Myriad. I was a paying non-operated working interest owner at the time. And when Confluence drilled their 4 wells, they had a mandate to sell because they were a DJ Basin company. And this is probably more background than you need, but they were looking to get out in a hurry. And so what I have, when they assigned this interest over to me, I've had to make the conversion from a non-operated person to an operator. And it has been lumpy at best. And I just want the commission to know that I'm aware of this. You all have communicated very well, and I'm not pointing any fingers other than to myself. And I'm here just to give you a report as to how I plan to remedy the problems.
Please
but I'll pause
proceed
for
with
a second.
Please proceed with that remedy.
Okay, so and please correct me if I'm wrong, but the first order of business is the Form 1 organization report and updated bond. I will have those submitted to Wendy Flood within 2 weeks, no later than April 10th. If there's no comment there, or I will save the comments for last. The second comment is the registered agent issue. I'm aware that in February, service attempted to return by CT Corporation, and that is in the process of being updated by the first part of next week. And the third order of business is the casing integrity test on the 135. And I believe I had a verbal conversation on this conversation. The reason why we were going to do that is because we had initially submitted a permit to drill a second well on that section. And because the proration unit is a 640 acre spacing, the commission had required that we go in there and do an integrity test. We have not done that, but we've also decided not to drill a second well on section 35. And we can get out there. We'd have to, if it's still a requirement, regardless, we can certainly go to that expense and time. But I would request that because we're not drilling the 235 well, that the casing integrity test on this well be not demanded, would be my ask. There's a pump jack on that well. I believe that my partners in Denver, Confluence, Myriad, did not give that well enough time for a test because we were seeing gas. And so where my partners and I are currently working is to perhaps at some date here very soon, because helium has changed and very dynamically in the last 3 or 4 weeks, to put that well on test. We just have to, we're struggling with a water disposal issue with that. And so we're trying to get our arms around that. So with that being said, I don't know if I'm deserving of any more time to get any of this resolved. I would pledge, however, that I will get everything certainly completely resolved to the satisfaction of the commission within 2 weeks, within a month. And I very much apologize for this embarrassment.
Wendy, go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to clarify that about the well, Aztec 135. Myriad had come for a temporary abandonment of that well.
Yes.
And we had already known about the second well that maybe you weren't going to drill it. And in order to get your temporary abandonment, the commission wanted the casing integrity test. So it's really more about, you need to, the status of that well. And if you're going to temporary abandonment, you need to do the casing integrity test in order to get your temporary abandonment. But if you're still using it, so I think now it sounds like maybe you don't want to get the temporary abandonment. But I just wanted to clarify, it didn't have to do with the drilling of the second well. It had to do with the temporary abandonment request that had come up, and then the condition that the commission put on that.
Understood, and thank you. And yes, and thank you for that clarification. The answer is we're still very interested in getting something moving on it. I mean, very, very soon. So the temporary, I guess, abandonment from Confluence Myriad, I would say that we could take that off the table for now.
Okay, so then I think that what would help, and granted, it's up to the commission. I'd like to offer to the commission that we get a follow-up in writing exactly kind of what's going on and your withdrawal, so we can just make the record state as to why the case integrity is not going to be done and that kind of stuff. But again, it's up to the commission. But thank you for that clarification. And then on the stat agent, so you were aware that your stat agent of CT Corporation Systems was no longer your agent, and you're going to work on letting us know who your new agent is that does reside rezone, and you said you would do that within a month, is
It
that
will,
correct?
it will be CT and I'll have that in the coming days.
Okay. All right, yeah, because they told us that they were not, and I think I provided that proof. So, okay, thank you.
Yes.
Back to Chairman Thorwald.
Commissioners,
yes.
if you can hear me and if I may,
Who is this?
this is Claire Bellinger with Aztec Land and Cattle, the landowner.
Go ahead.
And I wanted to get on and first voice my support for Scott. We've known him for years. We are more than thrilled to be working with him, continue to work with him. He will get this done. And we perhaps, well, I know more than you, have an interest in making sure that it is all done correctly. So I promise you, I know you're overseeing this and on top of things, but we are as well. So we will work with Scott to get you what you need.
Commissioners, do you have any, thank you, commissioners, do you have any questions for them, for Mr. Sears? Is what he's proposing adequate for us?
This is Fire Robin. I'd be willing to go ahead and go with the kind of the theme of the two people that let them get their act together. And if they don't, we'll proceed, but give them kind of one last opportunity.
Thank you, Commissioner Fire Robin. Commissioners, do the rest of you, are you in that agreement with that?
Mike Conway here. I am.
Commissioner Ballard?
Yes, yes, I think so.
And I am as well. I don't see we need a vote on that. Let us, anything else on this before we move forward to the next item on the agenda?
This is Wendy Flood. I would just like to emphasize again that I would like a follow-up of this conversation and what Mr. Sears will be doing and when you will be doing it in an email for the record, please.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And then you will be getting further communications. It's being FedEx today. So if you want to reach out to your principals and CT and let them know.
I will. Thank you so much.
We will now move on to item 2 on the agenda, Orphan Well Program Update. Tina LePage presenting, Administrator LePage presenting.
Yes, good morning, everybody. This is Tina LePage with AZOGCC. Thank you, Chairman Thorwald. Update on the pre-approved wells. We have roughly 30 wells that are still pre-approved. We know that we have to get the Form 9s submitted and so forth. Our abandonment number of the orphan wells right now, as of yesterday, is 51 wells. We're still progressing with Tetra Tech and utilizing the final funding for the initial grant. The initial grant was approved by Department of Interior for an extension through December 31st, 2026. It looks like, based on the work that Tetra Tech has been doing, that we will exhaust all of that funding probably before the end of our fiscal year, which is June 30th. So we're progressing and spending the funds for the abandonment of the orphan wells.
Thank you. Commissioners, do you have any questions for Administrator LePage? That was quick. Hearing none, let us move on to that covered A and B on 2, did it not?
No, we still have B.
Okay.
Chairman Thorwald, this is with Wendy
Good.
Flood. We have there was a plugged well Form 10 report that was submitted.
Okay, great. Let us move on to that.
Okay.
Yes, this is Tina LePage with AZOGCC. We have Micah Spencer with Tetra Tech on the call. If there are any questions on plugged well 02, 001, 05, 028. I believe it was plugged at the beginning of March of this year. And if we have any questions, Michael will be happy to answer any of them.
Well, this is Chairman Thorwald. If you could just give us a brief summary of what you've done on that well.
This well is in Apache County.
Michael, we can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
So this well is in Apache County. We moved there and, you know, like some of these other wells, we found there was no production or intermediate casing and only 13-inch. So it was open hole below that. The hole was caving in on us at around 700 feet. And so the tubing was stuck. We had to end up getting a variance and plugging from 600 to surface. There, the top of the Coconino is 434 here.
Thank you. Any questions, commissioners?
I'm trying to get to the pictures. Oh, here's your Form 10.
Pictures.
Okay. There we go. There we go.
Well, Mr. Chairman, this is Commissioner Ballard. I read through the report and it's, as in many cases, we didn't get as deep as we'd like, but I think they did a good job. They covered at least all the upper part of the Coconino. And I'm ready to make a motion that we accept this Form 10.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Fire Robbins, second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any abstentions? Any nays? The motion carries.
Thank you.
Let us move on to the next item on the agenda. That is 3. Now,
Chairman Thorwald, can you please make sure you're speaking into your mic? You're starting to get soft
sorry,
again. Thank
sorry,
you.
apologies. Thank you. We are now on item 3 on the agenda, and this is the chairman's report, discussion and update of state and federal rules and legislation with respect to the legislative session here in Arizona. We had a package of things that we were submitted through one of the legislators that never got out of committee, so it has not moved forward at all. That is the extent of my update on what's transpired with the legislation portion of it. The rulemaking, we need to do some more with respect to the rulemaking, and that really comes down to, and this ties into our piece with 1A. We have had a number of things like today with regard to geothermal that have come across and inquiries from the governor's office. And we need to try to finalize these rules. And I would propose we have another meeting, a special working session to talk about these rules in a few weeks to move this forward. And if we can certainly have a short discussion now on rules if we need to, but that would be my suggestion. Commissioners, what are your thoughts? I don't hear you.
Commissioner Fire Robin, are you speaking?
Sorry.
Okay.
Commissioner Ballard, any thoughts on the rules making? You've been involved with that so far with regard to the geothermal portion of this.
Well, we've got a lot of work to do. There's so many aspects to it. It involves, injector wells, hydraulic fracturing, um, lots of really things that are already subject to certain rules, and it all has to be reconsidered from the geothermal point of view. So, yeah, I think it's going to be a pretty big project. It'd be great to get started.
Commissioners, what would work on your agenda for having the meeting, another special working session to resolve some of this? Would a couple of weeks out be sufficient, or do we need to be longer out on everybody's agenda to even prep for this?
This is Conway. Would you be able to send along in advance some of the materials that we would need to consider?
I think we could do that in general terms. I prepared something, a rough document. I say rough, a document for the governor's office that I distributed, but it's has not been confirmed or checked. It still needs validation. We could probably send that out to you if that would. Administrator Roberts, do you think that would help in getting that moved forward?
Yes, we can definitely assist with that.
Excellent, thank you.
Would a couple of weeks be sufficient time, or do we need longer before we have our special meeting?
This is Fire Robin. I'm flexible, so whatever works for everyone will work for me.
Then we will send around some date. We'll send around some dates to try to work something out. Is there any other discussion on that before we move on to item B, the production report from Vice Chairman Ballard? Hearing none, Mr. Ballard, Commissioner Ballard, you're up.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have talked way too much this session. Everyone's probably tired of hearing my voice. I will try and move through this fairly quickly. Usually this is the only thing I get to do. So I just want to, this is going to be the helium production report for 2025. Just remind everybody quickly, there's two areas in Arizona that produce helium up north near the Four Corners, which is administered by the Navajo Nation, and of course more of our home area, the Holbrook Basin to the south. So if I could have the next slide. Okay, so the overall spreadsheet is available. It's starting to have lots of numbers because it starts off in 2014 and now goes up through 2025. And the production from every well, and they've all shifted to helium to speak of. This is the Four Corners area. The list of wells are almost all orange, which means they've been converted to helium. It's been a dramatic change over the last 10, 15 years when they were all oil and gas wells. But there is a tiny little bit of oil production still. The only oil production in Arizona is from two wells up there, which now produce very little. But and that's probably enough about that. The Nabaque field. Can we have the next slide? Okay, so this is more of our home territory, and I just thought I'd put things in perspective. Of course, we're going to talk about the Pentadome trend. We're going to talk about little extensions of the Pentadome trend that's come up recently. Saddle Horse Draw. I don't know if you remember it from last year. And then, of course, St. John's was on the agenda. We'll talk a little bit about that. And then just in perspective, these are about the last 10 years. I mean, from 2016, these are all the kind of some of the wells we've been talking about. These are all the exploratory wells and shows and discoveries that have been made in the Holbrook Basin. Next slide, please. So this is the bottom part of the spreadsheet. This is what covers the Holbrook Basin. And once again, the same format for 2025. All the wells in orange are helium wells. And of course, everything in the Holbrook Basin produces helium. Not a lot of wells were added in 2025 when a well, as you go left to right, doesn't have any production previously and then does start production, that means something was added or something was lost. In this case, we actually lost a well, like the second one from the top. That's kind of normal. Those first 10 or so wells are all from the pit-to-dome trend, which is it's getting kind of old. It's a lot of the wells are actually declining. We had a big change last year in 2024 in that we had new production come on from, like I say, that satellite development, Saddle Horse Draw, just to the south of Pent-a-Dome. That was great to see. For 2024, we got a little production. Unfortunately, that property changed hands. We saw an example, I think, today in the meeting, how that can just snafu everything. And they've had pipeline problems, so there was no reported production from those additional wells during 2025. And in addition to down there at the very bottom, that's the St. John's area. Once again, 2024 was pretty exciting. They actually produced quite a bit of helium, and unfortunately, from some of the reasons that we've heard about at the in the meeting today, there's no production reported for 2025, maybe for some time as well into the future. So at any rate, bottom line, last slide.
Oh, gotcha.
So we had some little encouragement in 2024. We're, of course, the top line is orange. That's the net helium produced in the Holbrook Basin. We moved up a little bit in 2024 because of those additional projects. We lost them for 2025. So unfortunately, our helium production is down. The same is true up in the Navajo Nation. They're along a more gradual course, but their helium production unfortunately also went down somewhat. Okay, that's all I had. Appreciate your time.
Thank you, Commissioner Ballard. Commissioners, do you have any questions for or comments on what our Commissioner Ballard had to say?
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you, Commissioner Ballard. Hearing none, let us move on to item 4 on the agenda, call to the public. Is there anyone that would like to address the commission? There does not appear to be anybody that wants to address the commission. So let us move on to item 5 on the agenda, request for future agenda items. Is there anybody that would like to have something put onto our next agenda? Hearing none, let us move on to item 6 on the agenda, announcements. Other than having the special working session, is there any other announcements? I'll thank everybody for all their great work on getting this meeting together today, and let us move on then to item 7 on the agenda. It is adjournment, and it is 11:48, and this meeting of the Arizona Oil and Gas Conservation Commission is concluded. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.